Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. I hope that everybody is well today. Wherever you are in the world, I hope there's a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of hope fluttering around in those beautiful moments called life. I often actually ask myself, what is this experience of us being here on earth and this experience of being human? And I've heard many theories about it, but I think ultimately we have to live the life that we feel deeply in our hearts is the life for us, regardless of what anybody else tells us. It is what we find peace within ourselves that ultimately will guide us to the true path. And as some wise sages have said, we are actually a soul having a human experience. Innately, we know we are so much more than this body. And sometimes when we lose our way, as we can all do that in times of stress such as these, it is because we need to be reminded that our whole journey on this planet is because there is a higher reason for our existence, and that we just need to be guided towards that path that is right for us. And the right people, I believe, come at the right time to help us. We just have to open ourselves and be ready for that moment. And this is one of those moments, actually, because I have been sent a wonderful and very lovely lady on my path. And she's a very special guest, MEejie Chaparro-Traverso. Now, she's a coach, a speaker, a TV presenter, and podcast host. That's a very small description of actually what she does. And MEejie is an entrepreneur who has built a firm that seeks to motivate, inspire, and elevate, and also to empower others. She has several programs which are founded upon proven scientific research and concepts from fields of studying the human brain, body, and behaviours. But there's so much more to MEejie, because she is really somebody that I'm very, very excited to have on the show today. And you will see why, because her energy is so, so beautiful. And today she's going to share a part of her journey with us. So without further ado, welcome, MEejie.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I am extremely honored. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure, and thank you so much, MEejie, for coming on. As I said, I am very, very happy, and I'm very, very excited to learn so much more, because you are really such a wise lady, and you have many, many beautiful talents to share with humanity and to help humanity. So tell us a little bit to begin with about your story, where it all began.
Well, I think that like everybody else, I think I always say this is my second half of life, and I say this will be my best half of my life, even though I really um, have learned to really embrace and enjoy the first part because it led me to where I am. But I think that my journey, obviously, like everybody else's, began when I was a child, and with my mom is one of 18. My dad was one of like 14, and I think that being immersed in cultures where family is everything really stemmed, you know, it was really like the foundation for understanding, although perhaps, growth, happens, and you sometimes don't understand things. But growing up and coming from a strong family values, I believe that once you go out into the world and you try to immerse yourself in its environment, and I'm talking about work, I'm talking about your social environment, or your the community environment, obviously those interactions
Mm-hmm.
that you have with the world. I think that that's really the journey that has allowed me to get to where I am. Obviously, like many people, I've experienced challenges, and a product of a failed marriage. Glad to say that my kid's father and I are in a really good place. We are friends now, and we've gotten to that point. But I think that we learn to really manage our circumstances and our environment and overcome what we thought were the challenges that we had. Because oftentimes those challenges live in your head and in your body and your heart, and not necessarily are out there. I'm not sure if you're understanding, but I think that to me, the journey was the
Yes.
realization that I'm in control.
Yes. Sometimes what we perceive to be is not always the case. And I have many conversations with people about this, that what we think is possibly going on is actually not what's going on. And it's our perception of things also. Now, where are you now, Meejie? What is it? Tell the listeners, what is it that you do? Because you do so many fascinating things. Where has the journey of everything that you've been through brought you to today?
Well, and thank you for asking. I believe that for me, over 20 years ago, I began working with and immersing myself in a volunteer capacity and a working capacity with the military, with their family programs. I I worked with a nonprofit as well, um, that were strengthening the welfare of families and women. And I then proceeded to gain more studies on, obviously I had a lot of been working in the fields of advocacy, prevention, education, and intervention for a while. I just felt that there needed to be more, at least for me. So I integrated um, human relations studies into my career. I got my master's in that field, and continued to learn about positive psychology, social psychology, neuroscience, mindfulness, presence. Just started learning about what it is that impacts us and I felt that education was a big component of what my journey was. It's just, but then the application of that education, and then the owning, basically owning our choices, right? And making choices that were sound with focus to ourselves. So for me, that was the journey that led me here. I spent a lot of time trying to learn things. I spent time failing at things, which, in hindsight, they were not failures. They were actually a push to move forward, because every single time that something didn't work out for me, I realized that, thank God it did not work, because I was able to look at it differently, or to just do it better, or to move forward, or to learn that, hey, that may not be the best approach. And so I decided to immerse myself in a self journey that led me. I was looking for a lot of healing for myself, for things that were there and things that maybe were not, but I thought they were there in my mind and in my body. And then decided to become an entrepreneur, 2011, decided that I was going to start my business and do something about it. And, I had a few false starts, because what I thought, or the way I thought I needed to do it, was really based on how other people were doing things, until I figured out that that didn't work for me. I needed to pretty much come up with my own way of doing things and design motivational, empowering, energetic journeys. That's the name of my business, MEejie LLC, that would motivate, inspire, elevate, and empower others, because that's really what I needed in life. So I created programs that, co-produced a TV show that's called Inspire, producing another show, Motiva Inspira, then decided to construct programs. I developed a project that's called Motivational, Empowering, and Energetic Journeys Components. One of its signature programs that is MSA, Movement Surrender Approach, that really is the focus on moving your body, releasing your stress, embracing your introspection and your greatness, in order to just take steps to perform and produce at an optimal level. So I am in the process of, I've been doing that, but I'm in the process of really enhancing the technology, which I have delivered it in the past, in order to have a greater, multi-dimensional, if you would, impact on the communities, because my entire process is, with the use of our senses and intuition. So that's why it's multisensory, because we all learn, right? We all learn differently.
Yeah.
We all perceive things differently, and we all express ourselves differently, and we all have different DNAs and different relationships and different geographies and different families and different desires, different wants. So when in a world of over 7.5 billion people, if we're all different and unique, right, then why is it that most of us spent so many years trying to follow a pattern that I believe does not exist? I think the only thing that exists are just possibilities and ways. Once you take those things and you adjust them to your own sensory modalities and preferred learning methodologies, then you really can optimize your entire potential. You can live the life that you want. You can live the life that you deserve to. And it's all rooted in us, right? I have one particular say that I say it all the time, and it's, we are born in greatness, with greatness, and for greatness. And it is our responsibility to just find that greatness and then share it with the world. And if you can go and share it and, be of service with your greatness and monetize it at the same time, then life is enjoyable and you're actually living. And I know that you're big on that. Excuse me, because you talk about living your life, right? You talk about a lot. So, what would you say, in regards to living? What is your take on that? I'm curious.
Well, on living, we were saying this earlier, weren't we? What is actually to live? As I said to you before we started the podcast, I'll say to the listeners, we were having a conversation, Meejie and I, and so many people exist. There is an existence, and we exist because, for whatever reason we exist, we've been put on this earth. But to actually live, to feel that life, to feel and taste life, is something completely different. And Meejie, I don't believe that we can actually reach that level of existence until we truly accept who we are. as people, with all our strengths, with all our weaknesses, until we can actually accept ourselves, how are we going to make a difference in the world? So I think to live, to really, really know that we are body and soul and heart and mind in this wholeness and this greatness that you speak about, we have to really know who we are. And how do we do that? And the question that so many people ask, I'm sure they ask you, well, how do I do that? How do I actually accept myself, not compare myself, not look to the outside, but actually look to the inside? And that's one of the furthest places to travel to, is ourselves. Because everything else out there is very close and very easy. But to actually turn that perspective, to turn yourself inwards and to say, what actually makes me happy? And I don't believe in this happiness as a destination. It's momentary. It's what gives me peace, what actually gives me that serenity to be myself. So that's just a glimpse, Meejie, of what, on this ever eternal subject of living, I'm just a humble person that is trying really my best to be alive, but also in that is to awaken people through any form, whether that be music, whether that be words, to say, hey, you know what? You actually matter in this world.
Yes, I agree.
That's my take on it.
I love it. I just think it's so important that we learn to grow up with the if you would, like, with the mission to really love who we are, with the mission to express ourselves freely, with the mission to surrender to who we are, and just utilize that surrender of who we are into an expression that gives to the world, that makes a difference, impacts others, but that allows us to just do it in a way that makes all of our senses come alive, that makes us just feel so energized and feel like this journey that we are going through in this world, it's just really delightful. It's really worth it, and that it's what we came here to do. And that begins with that introspect, with that internal focus, with that ability to say, I was born great. I was born in greatness, with greatness, and for greatness, right?
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And I say that all the time, because I just think that if we're brought up with that thought, from the moment you're born, you're told you're born in greatness, with greatness, and for greatness. Could you imagine that simple thought in our children's lives, in our youth, and our adolescents, and our young adults? And you're just constantly saying to everybody, you're born in greatness, with greatness, and for greatness. Right there, that your existence is really valid. And some of the things that we do is within the Impact Tour, whether the MSA, whether the Motiva Inspira platform, is just really take that concept and that as a movement, so that we seek to utilize words like this narrative to just not only hopefully spark some sort of intrinsic motivation on people, but also to gauge in a commitment, right? We have the movement, and that's like taking an oath, whether public oath or a silent oath, to that, where you pledge to be a change of social, an agent of social change, to be an inspiration to others, to be motivation to others, to inspire, to elevate, to
Yeah.
empower. And just think, if we each did that, right? If we
Mm-hmm.
each did that, and we say every day, how am I going to make a difference in somebody else's life, but in my life? One day at a time, one person in every single day. I mean, there's a huge ripple effect that I believe could very well, you know, possibly just have a greater impact in our lives, in our minds, in our hearts. You know, that heart, mind, soul coherent that
Mm.
we all look for, but also in the life of others. And I think that is, the hope. Hope is all we can. You could bring, what is it? You can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink, right? But when
Yeah. Yeah.
people see that you can be a source of inspiration, sometimes people, all that they need is just a little, somebody to cheer them on, someone to support them, someone to say, hey, I see you, someone to say, hey, you're, go, right? Go, you're worth it.
And
Value.
to acknowledge their presence and their actual being, that they're not faceless, they're not insignificant, that actually they do matter as people, and have, even if it's, Meejie, even if it's 20 seconds of a smile, 20 seconds of something real,
Yes.
that people can actually feel that, because we are energetically connected. You and I, I and the world, we are all in this together. We're not separate. And the separation is what makes us suffer. And
I
this
like
thought,
that.
it's the thought that we are separate. We are different. Indeed, we are different. Every wave is different, but the ocean is the same. We all belong to that same ocean. So to acknowledge and respect somebody is, I think, one of the greatest gifts.
I agree. And I think that to acknowledge somebody, you treat others right the way you treat yourself. You usually treat, if you
Yes.
are, and I think that we are actually harder on ourselves, but someone who's in pain, right? Just that's what you show, the way you show up. I'm not sure if you're familiar with someone I absolutely am very I see him. I haven't met him yet, but I'm on my way. Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he says you can't think greater than how you feel, right? If you feel
Yes.
bad, that's how you'll think. And and then he talks about people will accept, believe, and surrender to thoughts that are in things and conditions that are equal to their emotional state. So
Yes.
basically, the idea that until you change your emotional state, okay, you won't be able to change anything else that is there, because the way you handle life is really based on who you are and how you feel. And I absolutely I absolutely agreed. I came across him, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, and I said, oh my gosh, this man just his work is just amazing. But I said, oh my God, I found someone who's just really, putting things together, like these thoughts that I questioned, that I had. And it's just, so when somebody comes along and they have a message that aligns with what you believe. Obviously, he is a world renowned, and he has done so much work. But to me, I just think that that's what you need. You need to first express yourself, and then surround with people that really echo that better version of yourself, right? That better version, that vision of you, people say surround yourself with people, with the world that you want to be in, so that you achieve that. And I think that's what it is. It all boils down to, how do you envision the world? How do you envision yourself? And
Mm.
what would you like to contribute, right? What things would you like to express onto the world, and then just learn about them, immerse yourself with those, and practice it until you master it, and then just just make it a journey, make it a path of evolution. Because I believe that until the day I die, which I hope it's, I say I have another half of my life to live, but until the day I die, I will learn something every single day. I will just try to optimize who I am, because today I want to be better than I was yesterday, and tomorrow I want to be even better than I was today. But I can't even fathom the greatness that I will achieve by the end of my life, because it's still inconceivable. It's so much bigger than what I can even fathom, because the not knowing and that knowledge that I don't have yet doesn't allow me to know where I'm going. But I know that it's so much bigger than anything I can now conceive. And that is, for me, the thirst. I'm like, I want more and more and more, so that it is worth being here. And we all have a reason why we do it. I actually do it for me and my children, but it's just because otherwise I don't want to say I have regrets. I know that there have been many surveys of people, just to elderly people, just asking them, do you have any regrets and regrets in life you wish and the percentage, I don't recall what the percentage is, but it's very, very high, of people saying, I wish I had, I wish I'd taken this
Yes,
chance.
I've heard
I
that.
wish
I've heard that, and I don't want to be, in that position either. And it is very beautiful what you say, Meejie, because what a freedom to actually want to learn it, to learn something different, to know that there are infinite possibilities of finding things out, not only about the world, but about ourselves. And actually, it gives us wings, it gives us the freedom to feel that aliveness.
I agree. I mean, and you have such a beautiful and soothing voice. Your work is really extraordinary. I love the messages that you're putting out. So I do understand where you're coming from you when you talk about, living this life in a holistic manner. Like, what is living? So I think that to me, that's obviously one of the reasons why we have connected. But
Yes.
that need to just ensure that everybody's experience, right, if you would, in the world. I mean, it begins with a desire to express who they are, and without knowing, just like you said, without knowing who you are, I think that you cannot take that step into positive expression, or full expression of of the essence of your livelihood. I mean, it's a bunch of words, but I mean, really is basically, how do you want to show up in the world? What
Yes.
would you want what would you want others to know the value of your words is, or the value of your work, or the value of your inspiration, whatever that is. And I believe that as long as it comes from deep down within your being, that whatever you generate will be greatness, because that is the only way. I mean, we are all gifted with this such greatness coming into this world, and it looks different than everybody else's. But once you really understand that what you have from within, that there's really nothing more to do other than take what you have and who you are and transmute it, bring it into the world, like keeping, I call it and integrity, identity, right?
Hmm.
That identity of your, that you stay in the integrity of it, that you don't allow that you don't allow the environment to tarnish it. You simply take the integrity of your identity, and just, it's almost like just sharing it with the world, but you're unveiling it and just bringing it onto the world and sharing it, rather than, it comes from you and it spreads out, rather than having
Yeah.
the world come to you and shrinking you.
Mm.
So it's this idea of you spread out into the world, not the world spreads into you, because when the world spreads into you, you shrink. But when
Yeah.
you spread onto the world, then it's just, you allow yourself to just grow. It's like you can sprout. It's like that flower, that bud that just wants to sprout onto the world. And that's really, if we saw each other, ourselves as seeds that are to
Mm.
sprout into buds and beautiful flowers, and or bushes or trees. If we just knew that we were that, that we were that, we are just one more thing that lives in this world, and it's meant to, to turn out into something beautiful once you come into, in every stage of your life. But once you're in your adulthood, then
Mm.
you know that when those branches and those leaves, and when they keep on going, it will just, bear the fruits, right? It's like
Mm.
a peach tree, an apple tree, just it bears the fruits. Then the others can take from that fruit and eat and nourish themselves. And I believe with all of my heart that that is the vision. Well, a vision for me, the vision, but that is in the concept, rather, that we all, could benefit from adopting, right? Knowing
Yeah.
that, hey, we're a seed that's going to sprout into something beautiful, and others can nourish from. So what is it that I'm going to do?
This is so beautiful, and this is what I love about you, Meejie, is this energy that transports you. It's like when you listen to a story, and I'm very much into storytelling, and it's one of the loves of my life, I have to say. And when you're talking, you're actually transporting me to that moment and that feeling. And that's what I think is incredible about you and your work, is this ability that it is actually coming from such a deep and heartfelt place that you can transport that person into that sense of being in that moment and that realization. And that is incredibly rare and incredibly beautiful.
Thank you. You're too kind. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm just very, very passionate about showing up into the world as something more than I spent years and years and years showing up as, because I know that it was very painful and I hadn't figured out a way. I come from very loving family, but we didn't understand the concepts, right? Of
Mm.
being, in a culture where children are to be seen, not heard. And I know that I particularly have learned so much from my children, and they continue to teach me every day. And that childlike dreaming, and that imagination, and that free expression that they have is, we should never lose that. We just should never lose our ability to dream and create in our minds and express in our bodies, and just go on to the world fearless, right?
Mm.
Just go on into the world and say, okay, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to just, I love hearing children, and my children telling me the things that they dream of and the things that they want to do, because I just think that it's possible. everything, anything is possible. If you can dream it, if you can think it, then there's inevitably, there's got to be a way to do it, right? If you can
Yeah.
perceive something, some way, somehow, there's got to be a way to make that come true. And I think that that's the beginning of innovation, that knowing that whatever you dream up, there's no labels, no right or wrong, right? They're just up. Who would have that we'd have flowers, right? Who would have thought that we would be talking the way we are today? Zoom, having, you're
Yes.
in London, I'm in the US,
Yeah.
New York time, and here we are having a conversation and
Yeah.
just communicating with each other. Who would have thought that? But here we are, and what an opportunity to grow and to believe and to dream and to create and to communicate and to impact, right? Impact others, because these people, these children, this youth that can see what we're doing today could possibly think of even better ways on how to do what we're doing. But yeah, I was having a conversation not long ago with someone who was telling me that something they baked and something they made, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to have someone. I can't wait till the day that I could just print it and eat it, because she shared it with me and they were just cracking up, and I'm like, why not, right? Why not? You never know, right? You just simply never
Yeah.
know. It sounds bizarre, but so did these things when we were little. Who thought a man would go to the moon? Who thought that, we're getting ready to go to Mars or whatever? Who thought? So why not take a look at the pyramids in Egypt and all the things we didn't know? Why not?
And there's so much wisdom in, for example, in the pyramids and how they were built, or if you look at any of the ancient buildings or statues or whatever they are in their time, if you look at the Mayans and all sorts of things that are there, and the secrets that are to be discovered, because I think these things already have their own, how can I say, they have their own existence already. And we just have to tap into that. It's not something new. It's something that mankind has known for a long time. It's just that our senses, as you speak about, maybe are not quite open to it, to understanding. But there's so much wisdom, even because I do complementary therapies and things that are thousands, you can say thousands or hundreds or however many moons old, but it's an ancient wisdom that's there, and it's always there ready for us to tap into.
Yes, and I can agree more. I know that obviously the reason why science has proven that the quieting the mind, right, really allows you to just hone into parts of your brain that you're calm in the reactive brain, your primitive brain, the fight, flight, and faint death response, that survival brain, and being able to hone into your prefrontal cortex, you're just that brain that that allows you to think clearly, to regulate your vagal tone, to spark creativity, to just have better understanding. It's just that idea of limiting excuse me, the focus on the external and just enhancing the focus on the internal, and within yourself, being able to utilize, because we only use a very small fraction, understand, of our brains, obviously.
I was
And
going
our
to
brains
ask you
are
that,
part.
actually.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I was actually going to ask you, that was my next question, is that, we read about, of what percentage is it actually that
It's a
we,
very,
it's,
please don't quote me on that, but it's a
yeah,
very a small percentage,
mm,
of our brain. We are growing in the last 20 years, I believe. We're understanding more and more of the brain. You have fields like neuroscience, you know, epigenetics, biogenetics, bioenergetics, quantum field. You have so many fields out there studying the brain, the body, the human component that, but one thing they can agree, and I really don't know the number, is, and I don't want to say a number because I don't know it. I know it's very small percentage. It's just the fact that we are capable of understanding and using much more if we focus on controlling the responses of our bodies. What do I mean by that? We have physiological responses, we have psychological responses that influence, right, our bodies. And if we manage to understand and regulate that self-regulation of our emotions, or that really impacts the overall health and wellness that we have. For instance, if you are calmed and relaxed, if you breathe, right, and you can help manage stress and anxiety. You can go from a place of maybe being anxious and stressed out, more reactive, to a place of being more proactive. You can engage a little bit more of clear thinking, more creative, become more peaceful. Then you're able to understand and process information better. You're more open-minded, you're relaxed. But then, why? You're getting oxygen to your brain. Your vagal tone is getting lowered, right? You're becoming less tense, and you're able to just kind of, if you would, just tame the rumination, tame that could be in your mind, just simply by breathing and relaxing and just calming yourself. Because all of a sudden, that reactive brain that's there to make sure that you're safe, right? That's why you want to fight, or you want to run, or you freeze. That's just to protect you. But how often do you really need to be protected? From things, right? It's usually your thoughts. One thought alone can trigger the hormones of stress, like the stress response, right?
Absolutely.
So what happens is that we continue to go over and over, and then we embody whatever we're thinking, right? This is one of the reasons MSA was developed, just because it's if you embody these senses and these emotions based on thoughts that are not good for you, then what is really going to happen to your body? You're going to go into state, and believe me, I've been there. I've been in a state of paralysis. I've been in a state of depression. I've been in a state of a constant reactivity, or fear, or moodiness, or sadness, or whatever it is. I've been there, whether it be over divorce, over death of a loved one, or whatever it is. Okay, we need to understand that the way we choose to respond to things are largely based on the way we perceive things, on the thoughts that we put in our self narratives, and that's why I go back to the greatness. You're born in greatness, with greatness for greatness. If we knew that, if I'd known that, since I spent my entire life trying to be somebody else, just so that I can meet standards or expectations or whatever. And all I did was just bury myself more and more and more until I was crippled, right? So if I'd grown up with that thought, and again, I have a wonderful family. It has nothing to do with the family. It just has to do with the system and the that we had, this world that we perceived, right? If we change the world thoughts, and we teach the world that is already great, right, that it just needs to unveil that greatness, then we could go further, because the world really is great. It really, really, really is. We're not choosing to make their greatness be unveiled, to show that. We're not choosing to do that.
Very true.
But the world is just incredibly great. And that's, that mindset of it's perfect. Let's unveil that perfection. Let's unveil that greatness. If we all did something towards that, then we wouldn't have much more to, to do, because it exists within us. The greatness, the peace, the love, the vision of that idealistic world that we dream of, it already exists in us. It already is here. We just haven't decided to just, hey, what am I putting out today? How am I showing up? Well, I'm showing up in greatness. I'm showing up with greatness. I'm showing up for greatness. And that's really what I believe that we can best, if you would, just maybe embrace at this time. That's just a personal thought. Obviously, I'm not telling anybody how they should show up.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Meejie, because even as you speak, it's like an unveiling of seeing the world in a different way. But how do we reach that is the question. How do we individually allow that greatness? Because in a way, we are the ones preventing it for ourselves for some reason. Is it because we feel that we don't deserve it? Because I'm sure we know that we are great. What is it that is hindering us from having that realization, do you think?
I actually, I actually think for me, it was believing that I was not good enough. It's just taken that input that I perceived from the external world and owning it, like owning that baggage. I grew up in a family that was just wonderful, right? But I didn't value myself. And maybe it's not the idea that you don't have a beautiful family, that bad things don't happen, do happen. Maybe it's just the idea that when we are born, we're not told how amazing we are, right, already, and that that we don't need to do anything other than follow our dreams. We don't need to do anything other than strive to be better. We don't do anything to do anything other than just simply look within ourselves. I think that's all. And whether we're children or adults, I mean, I know that for me, that's what it was. Really saying, all right, I spent half my life looking for something outside of me to make me great, to make me awesome, so that I could feel happy, so that I could feel all these things, and I never found it. Everything was temporary lived. Everything was short-lived, temporarily lived. It was just not, or it no longer satisfied me after a while, because it never came from me, right? It just never came from me. So I think for me, to answer your question, would be allowing yourself to be who you truly are. That means your gifts, your passions, your desires, your dreams, your body. I spent so much time worrying about my body image and all my life and things like that. And I just think that when you don't look at you as an item of greatness, as an item of worth, as an item of existence, as a soul of divinity, then you miss out, because there's no possible way that you can show up and integrate with anything and anyone else at your best. You just simply can't do it. You can't give others what you don't have. You can't share with others what doesn't exist from within you. You just can't. It's just, no matter how, believe me, I tried. It just doesn't. It's impossible.
It is impossible. And it's like, for example, when people say, I really love that person. Let's look at love, for example. The most beautiful and the most powerful thing I think that exists. And when people say, well, I love this person and I love that person, and I always say to them, do you love yourself? I have a friend actually, and she's fallen in love with somebody, and she said to me, you know, I really love him. I really love him. And I said, but do you love yourself? And she said, well, no, I don't actually. And I think I'm not good enough for him. So I said to her, well, then you don't really love him. She said, what do you mean? Yes, I do. I said, but you can't. Because unless you have that love for yourself, you cannot. It's impossible to share that. If I don't have something, like you say, how am I going to share that with you?
I agree. I think that we look for others to fill the voids we have from within us. And I think that's what we do. And
Mm.
and then if we ask ourselves, what is it that I want in life? And then you find a way to find it from within you. I think that, it's so hard to ask these questions because when you don't know it, right? When you don't know it, it
Yes.
doesn't matter what anybody tells you. Oh, all you have to do is meditate. All you have to do is just be
Yes.
quiet. All you have to do is move your body.
Mm.
That means nothing. That means
Yeah.
absolutely nothing for anyone,
Yeah.
which is why, you know, MEejie
Mm.
LLC and MSA works with education, then moves to introspection, right? Self-assessment,
Mm.
then moves into learning skills, then goes into hands-in immersion, right? And
Mm.
then you get into charting actionable goals, that goal setting portion. Then you go into the invigorating expression within the, any coaching path that you have. And yeah, because I can't tell you how to feel, but I can show you, perhaps ways and strategies and techniques for you to begin exploring that. And if that works for you, because again, it's, I work in partnership. It's never one client never looks like another because you're so different and unique. Then once you realize that there is like that awareness of, I do feel good. Oh, I do love, just remember to dream, remember to just go back and set your thoughts beyond what's in front of you and just take time for yourself. But that's an experience that needs to be, learned by oneself. So again, going back to motivational, empowering, and energetic journeys, everything that I do within my work, it's always focused on the experience, because you do remember how somebody makes you feel. You do
Yes.
remember how a situation, a person, an event, a circumstance, you remember that. So then I would say, then the first order is just create ways in how to feel good. Okay, that's the first thing. Start there. And when you
Mm.
feel good, then start, educating yourself. Then start researching. Then start immersing, creating. And just doing, trying. But start with making yourself feel good. And we all know at least one, two, or three things in this world that makes us feel good. So the great thing is, all you need to do is just think of those things. That's a start.
Yes.
Think of them.
Yes.
That's a
Mm.
start. And then decide, right? So don't be too hard on yourself. If you, that's what I would, definitely say to people I do. Don't be too hard on yourself. Okay. Or, the world's already hard enough to deal with, it's a great world, but to deal with if you're already being hard on yourself. So the only way to effectively navigate into the world is to create a space for yourself in which you feel good.
This is
I
very
don't
good advice. This is
know.
excellent advice because it actually then transfers your thoughts and your mind to something not only positive, but something that you can start to build on. And I think also, I don't know about you, MEejie, but one thing that's really important that I have found in my life so far is actually to be around people who respect you, to be around people who share your desire and your passion for a better world, and that can enhance your life, as opposed to being with people that have a totally different view on life and actually don't bring you peace.
I agree. I mean, it's being responsible, being accountable for yourself. At what point do you say, at what point do you stop blaming? At what
Mm.
point do you stop looking for excuses? At which point do you look at others to, to heal you, to make you feel good? I mean, if you really think that somebody else is responsible for your happiness, and believe me, I thought that, I have thought that in the past, or somebody else responsible for, how you excel or don't excel. If you really think that, I mean, it's really going to take you longer. Once you choose to just put it all on you, all right? Then you release everybody else. You free yourself from all those relationships you think are wrong or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or make you feel bad. Once you decide that you have let them off the hook for you feeling miserable, for you feeling shame, for you feeling stressed out, for you.
Yes.
Once you decide that,
Mm.
then it's like the whole world's like, oh, I have nobody to blame. Oh, I have nobody to complain to. Oh, I have nobody to, to just
Yes. Mm.
make me feel better. Oh, I have. So you're like, okay, what do I do now? Either I do something that called rise or paralyze workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So either you rise or you paralyze. It's your call, but make that call, because whatever you do will have an impact on you and on those you loved. I learned that the hard way. I saw how my children would be impacted from me when I was at a time when I was really, really down, and I had no idea how much I was impacting my children. I had no idea how much I was hurting them. This is years ago, but I had
Mm.
lost somebody in my life, my partner, after my divorce, and he suddenly died. And I remember my daughter just said, "Hey, Mom, can I help you? Can I help you wash your hair and take a shower?" I'm like, "What?"
Oh.
I never even realized that. And then my son,
Mm.
my little guy, was just walking around trying to make me feel better. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my job.
Mm.
So it was just that I was feeling so sorry for myself that I forgot to be that responsible adult I needed to be, that role model. I forgot to protect my kids, and I forgot to do what I needed to do because I was so consumed in myself, so feeling sorry for myself, that I did not realize that, hey, I mean, self-care, it's where it all begins. It begins with you.
And what would you say, Meejie, was it a one transformational moment that woke you up to that? Or was it a combination of things? What actually made you get up, wake up, and say, I'm changing this around?
I just think it was the constant. I went into severe isolation after that. I mean, I was doing my business and everything, and then I took a pause. I've taken several pauses in my life because it either doesn't go the way I wanted, or it just doesn't feel, uh, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel right. So through life, and I've had to do that. And for me, I think it's been a combination of having gained so much, lost it all, start building it again or whatever, and then just going through that is uh, what really do I want? I mean, what really, really do I want in life? And who do I have to thank for it? Well, myself, right? So I think that realizing that my children were being impacted for me
Mm.
was possibly it, because I was able to look at it. I think that, you know, as a mother, for me, it's probably my greatest achievement. This is coming from somebody who didn't want children. And I ended up having three amazing children, and I would definitely do it all over again, for me, right? That's not for
Yeah.
everyone, but I think that I realized that now I'm responsible for someone else. I don't want them to end up where I am. And chances are that I could really influence them adversely by role modeling a behavior that is not going to serve them, because this is not serving me, and it's certainly not serving them. So I would have to say was the realization that I was failing at being a
Mm.
good mother. You know, right? I had no excuse. I mean, you're in pain, you're in what, doesn't matter. Okay, I made the choice to bring my children into this world. So therefore, it was my choice to make sure they were healthy. And, you know, stress, and I forgot that at one point, and I needed to say, hey, you know, wake up, because do you want them to end up where you are right now? Absolutely not.
That's a huge point of transformation and realization, I think, and also a spiritual growth to actually take the responsibility not only for our own life, but that we realize that we have a responsibility for other people. And that is a complete pivot point in most people's lives, I think, that they realize that there are other people that, you know, whether that be children or family or partners or parents, somebody that actually needs them at that time. And it saves a lot of people, I have seen in life.
I agree with you. I really think that, I mean, that life is a gift, right?
Mm,
Life is
absolutely.
really a gift, and how you choose to live your life, it's possibly the end of all of your troubles, right? The end of all of your challenges. The choice of desire. Have you ever come across people who, very, very humble uh, environments? They lack a lot of things that maybe we have, or maybe we think would make us happy, and they are just these beautiful, beautiful,
Yes.
serene, content. Just, I mean, they're just joy. They, and you're wondering, wow, or just, you know, how are they so happy? Because their value, right? It's that sense of
Mm,
value. Their values are possibly held in something else, right? I don't know, but, you know, I think values are the essence of how we choose, right? Our
mm,
values. That's how we make our choices, according to our values. And I think what you value is what you will care for. What you don't value is what you will neglect. And I think that, you know, a value system, one of my projects is working with value systems in the social aspect, is because, going back to learning how to value what is within you, learning how to value the potential within you,
mm,
learning how to value the ability within you, and learning how to value, you know, the expression in which you will emerge into the world. So I think that, I mean, I get so excited. We can talk about this for hours, but, you know, it's just because I think that, to know the light is to have lived without it. Someone wise said that. It wasn't me, but I think that's amazing. Unless you have suffered, you can't understand the other side of it, right?
I agree with you. Absolutely, Meiji. Totally and completely. And I've spoken about this a lot, that I believe that somehow, unless you have suffered, and we all suffer in our own way, unless you can, really say, I have been through that. I have walked through that fire. I have walked through that valley of sorrow or unhappiness or pain, whatever it is. I don't think we can ever really truly then understand anybody else that's gone through it. We can empathize, which is another thing completely, but we can't truly understand what it's about. And you talk about values, and a lot of people say it's about valuing objects in this material world, about valuing material things, but it's not. And as you said, some of the most poorest people that I have known, and I have seen many on my travels, and I remember being once in Uzbekistan, and we were going to meet a lady who they claimed was a holy lady, and she lived in a hole. Literally, she had dug this house out, and it was in the middle of a graveyard. And she had made this room, Meiji, she'd made this room, and they called her the guardian of the cemetery, but there was more to it than that. And we took some bread, because we'd gone with a friend of ours who lived there. And she said, I want to take you, because we were interested in seeing the spiritual parts of Central Asia.
Sure.
And we were in Uzbekistan at the time, and the friend said, look, you have to come and meet this lady. So she'd arranged all these different places. Not that it was off the beaten track. Nobody had heard of these people. It was just from her own personal experience. And she took us there, and she lived literally what looked like a hole. There was walls, walls, but there she was. That was it. And she was praying. And we got in there, and we'd taken her bread, because I said, what should we take her? Because that's the tradition. I should have just take her some bread. And Meiji, I will never forget this lady in my life. The light on her face as we walked in, this light in this room that was just darkness. And she got up, and it was very low. She got up and she hugged us, and she said, I know you've been sent. And we gave her this bread. And you know what? She took the bread, and she said, I don't want it unless I can share it with you. And I felt so bad in that moment. And I said to this other friend who lived there, I said, I feel so bad. I can't do this. She was translating for us. And I said, I just can't take the bread. She has literally nothing. She said, no, you have to, because you will, insult her. For her, it's an honor that you've come. And she was translating, this is an honor, and the holy people have sent you, and I was waiting for you, and you've brought this bread, and, I'm praying, she said, because I lost my son. He's gone missing. He's been missing for 10 years. And, could you please help me and pray for him? And this moment seemed out of this world. And she was the most beautiful, beautiful lady with this emanation of light. And I thought, my goodness, here we are. And I've had many stories like that. Here we are, this lady who's living in this darkness, yet she is this light. And
that's amazing. How you get impacted, right?
Yes. And the fact that I will never forget it. And in my darkest moments in life, I think of her, because I thought, she was in a dire situation, dire. But in fact, her soul was somehow in paradise, because how else would you emanate this divine light?
I've come across beautiful, beautiful beings who you look at them and they just radiate. You see
Yeah.
this radiance just coming from them, and they are so peaceful, and they have so much wisdom, and they are so loving and so caring. And I really think that, I mean, that's the secret of, you know, that's the secret of life, right?
Yes.
You know, to
Yes.
stay in love,
Yes.
to be loved, to show love, to understand love, to give it, to just immerse yourself with love. That's it. It's just, I mean, there's so many people talk about it, and so many religions, and so many groups, and so many whatever, you know, spiritual um, practices, but they're all founded on the idea of love. It's just this magical, this is just like a magic pill, right? A magic
Yeah.
thing that can really heal it and make it all. It's like it can move mountains. It could, you know, it could just shorten gaps. It could just transmute through things, and it's love. And I know we're talking about this, but we all have seen the other side of love, right? The depression, the fear, the isolation, all the things that we see on a daily basis. Some of us more than others, some of us lucky enough not to have a lot of that. It doesn't matter, but it's life, right? And
Mm.
it's our interaction with the world. So responding to the world in love, with love, and for love, it is just
Oh,
incredibly powerful, you know. So that response, you know, again, you know, in love, with love, and for love, you respond with to the world in that way. And guess what? It's just a little bit better. It just gets
yes.
a little bit better,
Mm.
just a
Mm.
tidbit better. And that's all you need to get started. Just a
Mm.
little bit better, right?
Yes. Yes. Even, on the days where it's raining, or, there's a storm, or the sky is grey, all it takes is that little glimmer of the sun trying to break through, trying to shed the light. It's enough. We know the sun is there, we know it's temporary. Everything in life is temporary, even us, ultimately. But it's to have that hope, to have that belief and that faith that love, I believe, is the answer to everything.
I love it. I just think, you know, I think I really think that the work that you're doing is so powerful, that the message that you're sending is so healing, and that the practices and the work that you do it's full of, you know, love, and it's full of hope, and it's so much needed. Just
Oh,
really so much needed. So I'm really glad to you know, to have spent time with you, just talking. I think, you know, we really
yeah,
didn't. We made it so simple. We just had a conversation, right? We weren't
yes.
here talking about work, or talking about practices, or talking about
Mm,
things. We just simply had a little conversation and bore our hearts into this interaction,
mm,
which was nice. You know, I think people get afraid. You don't always have to come up with the most intellectual conversations just to, you know,
not at
show
all.
difference. And I just really think it's important. Just be yourself, talk about what matters to you, and maybe another person will listen. Maybe you'll make an impact, but, you know,
Yeah,
just stay in that integrity of your identity, and just that's all you can do, right? That's all you can share. That's your
yes,
greatness. So
yeah.
why not?
And I am really, I said this to you, Meejie, I love your work. And
Thank
what
you.
you do, there is something really magical about you, I have to say, because
That's so
throughout this
sweet.
whole conversation, you've taken me on this journey, and I'm sure with the listeners as well, that you and I have shared a moment in time, and together we are sharing it with the listeners. And this love and this pureness to actually want to, even in the smallest of ways, heal hearts is a magnificent thing, that we have been honoured with each other's presence at this time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think that, you know, to be able to form a good interaction with the world and with others is just, you know, starts at allowing yourself to be vulnerable, right? Allowing yourself just to be you,
Yes.
allowing yourself to be heard and to, you know, to hear, to listen. And I think that we get so worried about interacting with others and the way we're going to, what we're going to say, what we're not going to say, or how smart am I going to sound, or whatever. But if we just let it be, sometimes it's just good enough, right? Right? It's just good enough.
I think it's always good enough just to be. Just to be, you know, and follow your heart. And you can never lose your way.
I love that. I mean, follow your heart. You can never lose your way, right? Follow your heart. It's almost like, you know, you're saying that, and I feel, I look at, I'm just actually, this is my visual. I think in visuals, right? It's funny with my clients. I think in visuals and pictures and whatever. But you know, I was just follow my heart. I just had this vision of my heart on a stick, one of these, like, of those balloons that you hold with a big long stick.
Oh, yes, yes.
And there's my heart, and I'm walking holding it, right, and I'm just letting it go. So thank you for that visual. But that's, you know,
and it's to make friends, isn't it, Meejie? To make friends with our heart.
Yeah, to connect, right? To see why, how, basically, how we can, you know, hopefully inspire others to say, today I will follow my heart. Today I will unveil my greatness. Today I will pause and breathe and just love me. Today I will just simply focus on doing one thing that will take me further. You know, I will try to be better today than I was yesterday. And then tomorrow I'll try again, right? It's just, I think that's just really a simple message. You know, we don't have to go through all this, anything. We don't have to just talk about, like I said, you know, all our projects or our classes or anything, nothing at all. Just allow yourself to just feel and be, allow yourself to just show up with the integrity of your identity, and just know that that is good enough, right? That is just good enough, because that's real, actually the most powerful thing that you have. It's you.
Yes, and as you said, in a way, you know, your greatness and my greatness and our collective greatness is the thing that will change this world.
Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you.
And to you. And Meejie, before we go, I always ask my guests, them, what advice or what message would you give to the listeners out there that has helped you in your life to stay inspired, to be hopeful?
I thank you very much. I think that what I would say, for me, obviously, it depends on whatever I am dealing with, right? So whatever I'm dealing with, it will possibly be impacted on, you know, by how I choose to handle it. But what I would say, in order to remain inspired, there are several things you can do. Number one, okay, just really, really look to make yourself feel good. Start with a thought, then followed by an action, and then commit to doing it in mastering it. So if you choose a thought that makes you feel good, turn it into an action, and then into a commitment. So it's the thought can be anything that makes you feel good. It would, whether it is, I thought of my children and they make me feel really good. What am I going to do next? Well, maybe I'm going to call my children and feel even better. Or maybe I'm going to write a letter to my children, or maybe I'm just going to journal my children. Maybe I'm just going to go look for a photo of my children, and it's an action. It does it, and then do it more often, because I know the thought of my children makes me feel good. The thought of that, making that phone call or writing that letter or looking at those pictures or what, it's going to make me even feel better. So then why not practice that? And it's very simple. I mean, we could take that into work. Obviously, we could take it into any other scenarios. But that simple practice of just really doing something, starting with the smallest, very minimal thing that would make you feel good, then taking an action after it, and then mastering that action so that it becomes a habit. That's what I believe you can work on today.
Very wise words. That is something, actually, I'm going to try that as well, because we need to do more of that. That's what's missing, I think, a lot in our lives. So it's the thought, and then the
action, take an action,
action, and then
master it.
And then master it. Yes. Very, very wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Meejie, for your beautiful, beautiful presence on the show. And, really, I am so, so honored to have you.
Oh, it's been my honor. It's been a beautiful conversation. Beautiful conversation for me. I don't know how much the audience will get from this, but I know
I'm
that
sure
I
they
got
will.
a lot. I got a lot from talking to you. It was just really nice to have a conversation with someone of your spirit and your energy and your love. So thank you for that gift of you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you too. Now, Meejie, where can people get hold of you?
They can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I believe that on Facebook it's MEejie Coaching. It's or MEejie Chaparro-Traverso. So it's MEejieChaparro-TRAV as in Victor ERSO. You can find me. All my contact is on those social media. So I'm always happy to chat with anyone. And my website is www.motiva-inspira.com. So thank you.
Okay. So everybody, you can get hold of Meejie on any of those platforms, and please do, because I'm sure she will be an absolute delight and an inspiration. Thank you again so much, Meejie, really from my heart. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mimi. It's been an honor, and much success to you. I know that what you're doing is just incredible, and I'm sure that I'm following you, and I see everything that you're doing. But I'm sure that you're just, I mean, even though you've done a lot already, I think that this is just the beginning of so many more things you're going to be doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and I wish even more success to you, Meejie, in all that you do and in all of the beauty of the spirit that you do it, because really the world needs you right now more than ever.
Thank you. That's too kind. Thank you.
Thank you. And please stay in touch and come again.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. What a delightful lady, MEejie Chaparro-Traverso. That was really delightful. What a lovely, lovely conversation to have with somebody and share precious moments across the world. I love that, to be able to inspire people and to have such inspirational guests on the show. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for being part of my journey and also your journey. I'm very, very grateful to you. Until next time, please do join me again, because we will have more wonderful guests. Take care, look after yourselves, and lots of love.
Thank you for listening to Secrets for an Inspirational Life, brought to you by your host, Mimi Novic. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast, and see you in the next episode. For more information about Mimi Novic and her books, music, and inspirational work, take a look at her website, www.miminovic.co.uk.